Welcome. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at this Jellas 6.6 amp jigsaw. So this was provided to me by the distributor, but they're not compensating me for this video and they're not reviewing it before I post it. If you find this video helpful, I'll put a link to it in the description on Amazon, and if you use that link it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost anything extra. So it says voltage 120 volts at 60 Hertz, 6.6 amps. No load speed is 800 to 3000 M per minute. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if that's meters per minute. I would think that would be strokes per minute. Max cutting capacity for wood is 110 millimeters and metal is 10 millimeters. The blade type is T. Here we have a manual. So here are the package contents. We have the jigsaw, dust port adapter, parallel guide, hex wrench, 2 wood blades, 2 metal blades. And here's some more specs. Here it has the capacities in imperial. So it's 4 1/4 inches for wood and 3/8 inches for metal. The bevel angle is 45 degrees left and right. So I'm going to take a look at the saw and then we'll come back to that. So here's the accessories bag. We have the dust port. So the wood blades are dark and the metal blades are the light color here. So this is a little tricky to see on camera, but it does have labels on here. This says clean for wood, clean for wood, basic for wood, basic for wood, basic for metal, progress for wood, progress for wood, speed for wood, speed for wood, basic for metal. Here's the edge guide. This does have a ruler on it in centimeters. So this would clamp into the jigsaw so you could cut a parallel piece. So I'm going to reference this graphic and we'll take a look at the parts of this. We have the variable speed dial. So it looks like it goes from 1 to 6. So this is a trigger lock. We can pull the trigger in, press that down, and it locks the trigger. This is an LED light switch, so that clicks in to turn the LED light on and off. There's a plastic guard here. Looks like that does come off. These are the parallel guide lock knobs. So if you're not using the parallel guide, you may want to remove these so they don't pop loose. So the parallel guide would slide in like so. And you can see the way this is situated, you can get that pretty close to the blade. So you'd want to get that to where you want it, and then tighten that down. It looks like the 0 on the scale here is lined up with this fence, so I don't know how well that scale would really work for you, but I guess if you had it somewhere that you liked, you could look and see where it's at, and then actually probably be easiest to take a permanent marker and just make a little mark on it if you want to replicate that later. So if you take that out, you want to make sure these are pretty tight, or just remove them so they don't start vibrating loose. So we have the power switch here. This is the power indicator light. Here's the dust port. So it looks like this is going to fit in there and maybe rotate to lock. There we go. So you can put a vacuum in that. This is the air blowing switch. So we have on and off. So I'm not sure if that's blowing air on your work or if that turns the vacuum on and off. I'll have to check that out. This is the roller guide here. So this backs up the blade, provides support in the back. And then we have the base plate, and this probably pops off. So this can help prevent things like your wood from getting scratched. What I like to do a lot of times is after you use these, they can get things embedded in here. So I'll just put some wide masking tape on the bottom if I have a surface that I'm worried about getting scratched, and that'll help protect the surface. So this uses a T-shank blade. That's probably the most common these days. There was another type that I think they're called U-shape or something, but this is my preferred blade type. So I'll pull this guard off here. So the blade's going to go in here. It looks like I pull this forward and slide the blade in and then let go. No, I didn't quite get it that time. Let me try again. Okay, I didn't have it pressed in enough. So if I pull this now, it will eject. Let me show that. So I'm going to pull this lever and it pops it out. So that's a nice feature because you may need to eject your blade when it's hot. So you can just pull that lever and eject it. Now be careful you don't eject it onto some dry grass or something. You don't want to start a fire. So again, to put it in, I'll pull the lever. I'll press it down. And you can see it lines up kind of with the S on the speed. And you want to make sure it's in the groove of this. And obviously the blade needs to be forward. So this is the orbital mode lever. 0 is straight up and down. And 3 is orbital, the max orbital. So it talks about it in the manual here. The setting 0 is good for thin metals, also for plunge cuts and cutting curves and sharp edges. So that's more for precision work. And then 3 is for speed. And then 1 and 2 are for the middle. So the way that works is in the 0, the blade's just going up and down. In orbital mode, it's going to do a motion kind of like this. I'm exaggerating it, and that helps clear the chips out, but it's not going to give you as much precision. It might give you less clean cuts. So sometimes I use a jigsaw just to cut up wood to throw it away. So what I'll do is I'll put it on the full orbital mode. I'll use an aggressive blade, and it cuts very fast that way. The cuts don't look great, but if I'm just breaking down materials, that's a good way to do it. So if you're doing precision cuts, you'll probably want to leave it on 0. If you want something more aggressive, you could do one of the other ones. And the best way to do it is to experiment to see which one works best for your application. So it does say in the manual it can get kind of warm when you're running this at low speed on 1. The reason being there's a fan in here, and if you're running that motor slow, it's not cooling as effectively. So you'll want to run it at high speed a little bit every once in a while to help cool the motor. Now, I rarely use jigsaws at the really low speed. I usually use them at the faster speeds. So you can bevel the blade. You want to loosen these 2 bolts here, and there are little index teeth on here so you can change your angle. So the supported angles are 0, 15, 30, and 45 degrees. So I read in the manual that when this dust blower switches off, it's in vacuum mode. When it's on, it's going to blow air down at your work. That should clear your cut line. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in and we'll just do a little no-load test on it to see how it operates. So there's the light. There you go. So you probably shouldn't put your hand right in front of a blade on a plugged-in jigsaw, but I have enough experience, I don't think I'm going to cut myself. But you can see the light there on the cut line. Okay, so that is full speed. That's the slow speed. So this doesn't appear to have a variable speed trigger. You need to adjust the variable speed here, and we can lock that on. Pop the blade out here. Turn on this blower. So when the blower's on, I do feel air coming out here, so that would help clean your cut. So if you're cutting outside, that might be a nice way to blow the chips away from your cut. If you're inside, I would recommend trying the vacuum attachment. And then here on the back, we have the power light. So this lets you know it's plugged in. So I did just take the blade out while it was on, but the proper thing to do is to unplug it. So I just unplugged it now. I'm going to see if we can see the orbital mode. So I'll turn it on. You can see the blade is straight up and down. I'll turn it to 3, and you can just see a little bit of a shadow behind the blade there. You can also see this part move. So I'm going to take this into my shop and we'll do some test cuts with it. Okay, so I have a piece of 3/4 inch. It's genuine Baltic birch plywood. So this is a very dense plywood. I have the speed for wood blade in here. Now normally I would hook a vacuum up to this, but when I'm shooting a video, it's kind of a pain to turn the vacuum on and off every few seconds. So I'll just vacuum it up when I'm done. So I'll turn the light on here so I can see my cut. So that cut was actually pretty smooth. That was messy though. I do think I'm going to hook a vacuum up to this. So I think it got hung up on something, I'm not sure what, but I just adjusted it and went right through. So the orbital mode was on 0. I'll do it to 3 this time. We'll see how fast it cuts. So my wood slipped a little bit there. The cut is a little bit rougher. So the dust collection wasn't great, although I will say I haven't found a jigsaw that has great dust collection on it. So if I'm doing a lot of jigsawing, I like to just take it outside. That way I don't have to worry about cleanup as much. Okay, so now I'll remove that blade. I'll insert the clean for wood blade, and I did unplug this. I'll turn the orbital down to 0. This time maybe I'll do a little curve. Okay, so I got the curve. So I did get a little burning here, or maybe that's the paint from the blade. It looks kind of like a little bit of both actually. But the cut is incredibly smooth. It feels like it's sanded. So this would obviously require some sanding. So this blade is a little bit wide, so I don't think it was super ideal for doing curves. You can get narrower blades that work well for curves. I've seen clean for wood blades that are narrower, and those will cut silky smooth, and you can cut pretty tight radiuses with it. I'll just try cutting a straight cut with this, and we'll see how it is. Okay, that worked much better. This is a very smooth cut here. So let's check the squareness of it. So the curve here is not super square, but the straight cut is very square here. So jigsaws aren't precision instruments by any means, so it is difficult to get perfectly square cuts with them. So here's a piece of pine. I just wanted to do a quick cut in some softwood because that Baltic birch is a pretty hard wood, and we'll see the difference here. Okay, so that cut a lot easier. That's a lot smoother. Now I'm not cutting to a line, it's not square. I could have marked a line on here and followed it, but that's a very smooth cut. And that cut a lot easier. So I thought that worked quite well. So I realized I had forgot to turn the dust collection on, but I don't think it worked that great. I wouldn't rely on that. I could still probably use it. But like I said, I haven't found a lot of jigsaws that have very good dust collection. So I like to use them outside, or you can even kind of hold a vacuum up near the front if you're skilled enough to do that. Aside from that, I like the features with this. It has a trigger lock, which is nice if you're cutting something large. It doesn't have a variable speed trigger. That can be handy at times, but you can adjust the speed up here. But usually I just cut at full speed. The orbital mode is nice. Sometimes if you just want to rough cut lumber, so you don't know the exact dimensions, you can cut things long. You can just zip them shorter with this on the orbital mode. The cuts won't look as good, but if you're going to recut them anyway, it's no big deal. This burned quite a bit when cutting curves, but I think if you get a narrower blade, that would help with that. And since this takes a T-shank blade, it should be really easy to find blades that'll fit with this. So aside from wood and metal blades, you can get carbide blades for cutting certain things like cement board. I think they even have diamond ones you could cut tile with. I think they have blades for foam. So if you really want like smooth precision cuts for like curves, I would look for the clean for wood blades that are narrower. Otherwise, it felt nice in the hand. It felt like a D-handle jigsaw. The weight on it was nice. It didn't vibrate too much. It wasn't hurting my wrist or anything. So I didn't demonstrate the tilt feature on here, but you can loosen this up and tilt that at a 45-degree angle. I don't do a lot of miter jigsawing. I don't feel like I can get a lot of precision out of a jigsaw when mitering, and I'm not talking about this model. I'm talking about any model of jigsaw, but there might be times when people need to do that. So this will do the mitering. So that's the Jellas 6.6 amp jigsaw. That's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.